Sonny Gray leaves his start against the Nationals with an injury. What we know so far, and what happens if he's out for an extended period of time. Oh, this is Locked on Cardinals.
You are Locked on Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I'm a national radio sports anchor born and raised in the Lou and a lifetime Cardinals fan. And I'm your host for Locked on Cardinals, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on Twitter X at JD Sports Radio. You can follow the podcast at LO_Cardinals. I want to thank those of you who make Locked on Cardinals your first listen every day. Free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment if you're swinging by there. That way you're interacting with us. Hit the notification button so you know when new episodes are posted. Don't want to miss out on those. It's a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode is being brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers, if you join today, you're going to get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. You can visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. So, not such great news today for the St. Louis Cardinals, right? Not only were they shut out for the second time this spring, but even worse, bottom of the second inning, starting pitcher Sonny Gray, our ace, our number one, had to leave the game with what was described as right hamstring tightness. He is scheduled to have an MRI done today, although we're getting really close to the end of Monday, and we should have the results on Tuesday. Gray did not talk with the media afterwards. From what I heard, it was that he didn't want to speak about something until he got as much information as he could as far as the MRI goes. He was scheduled to pitch 3 innings on Monday. Got to 20 pitches, and after a delivery during the at-bat against K-Bear Ruiz, immediately reaches for his right hamstring and then signaled for catcher Wilson Contreras to come on out to the mound, followed by head trainer Adam Olson, first baseman Matt Carpenter. He came over. Eventually, you had manager Ollie Marmol, pitching coach Dusty Blake limped out there with his busted up leg. Then the entire infield made their way in. And whatever the conversation consisted of, you could see the first person that started to react to things was actually Matt Carpenter. Like, you could see Sonny talking to everybody, and you could see Matt Carpenter starts shaking his head. No. And it appeared to me as, Sonny was probably like, I mean, it was just a little thing. Maybe I should try to pitch through it. I'll throw a couple pitches, maybe something like that. Again, I'm speculating here, but you could see Matt Carpenter like, nope, no way are you trying to pitch through this. Not in spring training. And then he gave Gray a nice smack on the fanny there, and Ollie took the ball. Gray was done for the day, exited the field to a nice applause from the crowd. From what I saw, and these are my own observations, okay? From what I saw, he did not appear to be walking with any sort of limp. He wasn't favoring his right leg at all as he left the mound, or even later on when he was leaving the field altogether. As someone who has pulled both hamstrings in his left and his right legs, when it's significant, it tightens up pretty quickly. There's some where you just feel like a little pull, and you're like, oh, maybe I just need to loosen it up some, and it's not so bad. And then there's other ones that I've had, because I've done it a couple times, and oh boy, it just tightens up real quick. You know how like you roll an ankle and it begins to swell immediately and basically immobilizes you. That's what it feels like when you do it really, really bad. I had one so bad in college that when I pulled it, the back of my leg was like black and blue for weeks following the injury. Even after I had healed and was able to do things again, the discoloration and everything was still there. It was bad. And that one tightened up really, really quick. Like, I wasn't walking normal. Like, it was rough. I was limping pretty bad. when that occurred. I'm no doctor, nor do I play one on TV, but I'm a positive person. And if we're going to try to find a silver lining here, perhaps that is some good news, that it didn't seem to bother him so much when he was walking off the field or anything. He wasn't like hanging his head in disgust or anything like that. But again, the MRI will give us a definitive answer on the severity of this injury. And it's a shame, too, because Sonny looked a lot sharper in this outing than he did in his first start. He'd given up one hit, struck out one, but no walks. You know, things were moving really well. The pace of the game was flying up until that point. And then the hammy grabbed, and whether it was a cramp or something more, you're just not going to chance it at the halfway point of spring training to try to work through that. You know, it's just, you're not going to. Now, you might be asking whether or not Sonny Gray's dealt with leg injuries before, or is this something new? The answer is yes. He has dealt with hamstring issues before. I'm going to throw up a picture here real quick of, there he is holding the hammy while he's talking to people. Yes, he has dealt with hamstring issues before, most recently in 2022. Katie Wu from The Athletic wrote a follow-up on the injury today, pointing out that Gray notched a healthy 2023 with the Twins, making all 32 of his starts, but he landed on the injured list 3 times back in 2022. 2 of those stints were hamstring-related. Gray missed nearly 3 weeks in mid-April of 2022 with what the Twins termed as a low-grade right hamstring strain, and was placed on the IL again in mid-September with another right hamstring strain. So this isn't anything new, but it puts a damper on what had been a promising spring for the pitching staff as a whole so far. I mean, the offense has struggled, sure, but the pitching staff has been pretty darn good. And the one thing that you really, really hope in spring training is that you don't deal with injuries, that everybody gets out of it healthy. And we just don't know yet. We'll find out on Tuesday. But if this injury does cost Gray some time at the beginning of the year, kind of throws a wrench into what the Cardinals' plans for 2024 were. So we're going to talk about that possible situation. And if Gray is going to be down for a little bit, what are they going to do? What's the plan now? We'll talk about it next on Locked On Cardinals. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet of $5 or more wins. So $5, you win. $150 in bonus bets comes your way. Pretty good trade. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams. They've got quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive prop bets are available. And the great thing about the NBA, which is the same way it was with football, the way it's going to be with baseball in the regular season, if you decide that you want to bet on some games there, is there's just so many different ways that you can place bets and win money. So many ways. In the NBA, we're talking points, field goals, three-pointers, free throws, assists, steals, turnovers, offensive and defensive rebounds. I mean, stats on top of stats on top of stats. And you can place bets on whomever your favorite players are. If you think they're going to have a good night, things are going to go well for them. And if that's the case, you can bet against the people they're playing. And if you don't think they're going to do very well, bet against them. Make money that way. It enhances the experience of watching the game, makes it a whole lot more fun. New customers, once again, you get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn and shoot your shot. FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. And a big thank you once again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. You can leave your comments on YouTube as well as on Twitter anytime you want. Your feedback is always welcome and encouraged. I appreciate your patience when it comes to shows this week. I don't know if you heard the show last week where I mentioned that I'm actually moving. So we're moving households, and it's chaotic right now because you got to be at the other house doing certain things. You've also got your normal job, and then you got to be at this place doing other things. And it just, there's not enough hours in the day. So I apologize for this coming out so late, but we're talking ball, we're talking Cardinals, and we know that the Cardinals are attempting to do something that it's not easy to go from last to first in the division, or at the very least earn a wild card spot. And the biggest changes this offseason had to do with the pitching staff. We know that. An overhaul of the rotation and the bullpen. It had to happen. 10 new pitchers coming in this year to help erase everything that happened in 2023 and hopefully just chalk it up as a blip on the radar. Like nothing to see here. Happened once. We're going to be good for another 10 years. You know, that's the idea. If it works, we don't know if it's going to happen yet, but there's no doubt the biggest acquisition of this offseason for the St. Louis Cardinals and this whole movement of moving on for 2023 was Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray. The Cardinals needed a number one or an ace, whatever you want to call it. They needed it, right? And looking at last year's rotation, you had Miles Mikolas as your starting day number one, really, if that says anything to you. Not that Miles Mikolas is a bad pitcher by any means, but where would he be on other staffs and other rotations throughout the league? Would it be a one or a two? Just keep that in mind. And then you had Jack Flaherty. Question mark. Injuries, production. We didn't know what you're going to get. Jordan Montgomery, Adam Wainwright, Steven Matz. They were all a part of it as well. So rolling with Miles ended up being a mistake. Rolling with him as your number one. That didn't work out. Jordan Montgomery proved to be your best pitcher in the long run, but nobody expected him to be your number one. He was not brought in from the Yankees to be a number one. That was not the plan. He just ended up pitching better than anybody thought he was going to during his tenure in St. Louis and even with Texas. They were hoping to be good. They didn't expect him to be that good. And right now, he's not even on a team. And Sonny Gray seemed to make the most sense for this Cardinals front office. All right, let me explain that. Was he the best pitcher available? No. Yoshinobu Yamamoto was clearly the number one free agent pitcher, but his price range got outrageous. The idea that the Cardinals were ever going to be able to afford Yamamoto, it's kind of funny when we all go back and look back at some of those episodes and where we're talking about it. Okay, here's what you do. You sign Yamamoto, and then you try to get Sonny Gray. Like, it's crazy to think that we actually thought at one point or another that Yamamoto maybe could be a Cardinal. Did not work out. Wasn't even close, right? Aaron Nola reports that the Cardinals were very much interested in Aaron Nola, but it never went anywhere because he went right back to Philly. Like, immediately was like, no, I don't want to go anywhere. I want to be in Philadelphia. And they gave him the bag. And so he stuck around. You had the contracts for Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery, which appeared to be headed into that long-term range like Aaron Nola signed. Nola got 7 years, $172 million. And whether you agree with it or not, those long deals for pitchers is just something the Cardinals do not appear eager to be a part of. They just don't. And it's not my opinion that they shouldn't sign these guys. They're just not doing it. They're not going to do it. They're not going to throw those contracts out there. That's clear to me. So 7 years, 172 for whatever, Snell, Montgomery. Now there's rumors that they might want short-term deals instead, that maybe Snell would be willing to take a short-term deal. Maybe something like what Zach Wheeler just signed. The Phillies just locked him up, their other top pitcher. 3 years, $126 million extension. We'll talk more about that here in just a little bit. But Sonny Gray was the guy that fit what the Cardinals like to do. They had just finished second in the AL Cy Young Award voting last year, so we know he's good. He wasn't seeking a massive deal, and as we've learned, he wanted to be a Cardinal, had a lot of respect for the franchise, for the fans, and for the way things were done in St. Louis. But despite landing him, most experts analysts, fans, myself included in all of those groups, felt that just Gray wasn't going to be enough. That was the fear, that something happens to Sonny Gray. What do you do now? We all felt they were still another top tier arm short of really becoming a serious contender for not only the division, but for a world championship, which I will continue to say that is the ultimate goal. It's not just to win the division. I know we talk about all you got to do is get in, like the Diamondbacks, like Cardinals teams in previous years where they went a long way winning a championship. The Diamondbacks go to the World Series last year and snuck in. If you can get into the dance, you have a chance. You know, we hear this all the time. Do we like hearing it over the time? No, we'd rather hear like we're building a team to win a World Series this year, not a team that will hopefully get into the playoffs. And they were another arm short of completing that puzzle, in my opinion, and in the opinion of a lot of people. So the Cardinals felt that Gray was enough to go along with guys they've already signed, Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson, plus Michaelis and Matz. They were like, okay, that puts us in position to at least get a playoff spot of some sort, whether it's a wild card, whether it's a division championship. Again, I'm not saying this was a good idea. This is not my opinion that this was a good idea. I'm just telling you what they did. And then the plan after that, Matthew Liberatore, Zach Thompson waiting in the wings as depth. Voila. There is your starting rotation. We didn't think something was going to happen to Sonny Gray. And then today happens, and we're like, ugh. You know, it's like what Obi-Wan Kenobi said in the original Star Wars. There was a tremor was felt through Cardinal Nation. One twinge of a hamstring and all the positivity that had been built since the start of spring training, because all offseason, everybody's knocking the Cardinals left and right about not doing enough. And at least there was some positivity growing here in the spring training. It snatched away just like that. Just like that. And yeah, I'm being a little bit theatrical here, but go ahead and look online. I dare you. Like, people are doom and gloom already. People are already crushing the Cardinals in the front office for putting their faith in Gray. They're calling him old, saying they should have chose younger pitchers instead. A couple of quotes here. Cardinal season has come to a tragic end. Should have signed Trevor Bauer anyway. Literally everyone saw this coming except our awful front office. And that's just a couple of random ones on Twitter X. I can only imagine where it goes from there. So what's the plan now if Gray is out for a bit? I mean, odds are he's going to miss a little bit of time here. We don't know how long, but odds are he's probably going to miss a little bit. They're not going to push him if his hammy's feeling a little wonky. Do the Cardinals dare jump into the free agent market? Something you got to think about. For fun, I put up a poll on Twitter X asking fans which starting pitcher they'd want the Cardinals to sign: Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery, or Trevor Bauer. For fun, because I continuously get people banging down my door saying, got to sign Bauer. Even though the Cardinals front office has told you it's not going to happen, they continue to fight for it. That's fine. That's your prerogative. Results so far: Blake Snell in the lead, 43%. Jordan Montgomery second, 34.6%. And then Bauer at 22.4%. Will the Cardinals sign any of these guys? Probably not. As Katie Wu wrote, if Gray is sidelined, the rotation leaves much to be desired. Miles Michaelis and Kyle Gibson would round out the upper tier, with Steven Matz, who notched a scoreless inning with 2 strikeouts in his Grapefruit League debut on Monday, and Lance Lynn making up the middle. Matthew Liberatore and Zach Thompson would be the likeliest candidates to fill out the rotation, and perhaps both left-handers could make the cut if the Cardinals decide to use a temporary 6-man rotation to open up the year. We've talked about that with the scheduling. So many games right off the bat without a lot of days off, and they got to go travel-wise from the West Coast back to St. Louis, back to the West Coast. So it's just tough. It's a tough schedule to start the year. So that's why the 6-man rotation is something that's been whispered about. Would they go sign one of these guys if this MRI comes back and it's worse than we thought? Probably not. But as far as what the rest of the league is thinking about these free agents, I mean, they're still being sought after. I mean, who wouldn't want a Blake Snell or a Jordan Montgomery on their team besides Cardinals, apparently. MLB Network insider John Paul Morosi said on Monday that the Yankees are a possibility for Snell. That's been the biggest rumor for weeks, is that Snell's going to be a Yankee at some point. Same goes for the Phillies, even after inking Zach Wheeler to a 3-year deal. Morosi also said the Angels are a possible landing spot for each starter. I could see Snell going to the Angels. I keep saying he's going to end up on the West Coast still. I think he liked it out there. The Giants have been mentioned as well, and it sounds like the number of clubs interested in Snell and Montgomery is increasing. Scott Boras, the agent for both players, said on Monday that 4 new teams have contacted him regarding the pitchers since the start of spring training. The identity of those teams is unknown, but given the injuries that come during spring training, it makes sense that clubs that may not have had Snell or Montgomery on their radar during the winter are now considering a rotation upgrade. We know that the Cardinals at least reached out to Montgomery about perhaps coming back. We've also heard that Montgomery is not interested in coming back to St. Louis, but they got to play somewhere. Are the Cardinals among the group that are starting to go, all right, this Sonny Gray thing, if he's hurt, this is something we're going to be dealing with all year. Should we go out and get somebody? It's doubtful. It's doubtful. I don't want to get your hopes up, but it's doubtful. But if Gray's MRI comes back with bad news, perhaps they have a conversation. Still probably not, but we can dream, right? I want to circle back to the Zach Wheeler stuff because I don't know. I just feel like a lot of people are very happy and seem to think the Phillies just did a really good thing by locking up Zach Wheeler. And yet people thought the Sonny Gray signing wasn't nearly as good. And I'm curious as to why. So I want to compare them to. We'll do that next on Locked On Cardinals. You shouldn't have to worry when you buy tickets to your next big event. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, which is really good because you know how, and I'm sure you've bought tickets online somewhere else before, and you're like, ooh, good ticket price. I like this. And then you go to checkout, and you're like, ooh, what are all these added fees and stuff on there? Gametime's got you hooked up. All in prices. They're going to give you views from your seats, which is great because that way you get an actual idea of what the heck you're going to be looking at. Best price guarantee is part of them as well. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets, and all you got to do is download the Gametime app and give it a try. You create an account, use the code Locked On. We'll save you some money. Use the code Locked On, LOCKEDON, and get $20 off your first purchase. Very, very simple. So, you could be buying tickets for an event. $20 might be a majority of what you're spending in the first place. So, again, create an account, redeem code Locked On. Terms apply. Get $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Give it a try. I use it. It's the only one I use anymore because it's worked out the best for me. It's been the easiest. I've found the best deals with Gametime. You can too. So when Sonny Gray does come back, when he's done nursing the hammy injury, and you want to see him at Busch Stadium, that's the best way to find the best tickets for the best prices. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7. It's covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On. Plus, we've got our national shows, which cover every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. So for those of you who are applauding the Phillies for locking up Zach Wheeler, that's fine. I don't have any problems with you being happy for the Phillies and saying, hey, smart move, because, Zach Wheeler's a very good pitcher. I get that. I don't understand why people are so happy about that signing and then hate on the Sonny Gray signing for the Cardinals. And a lot of people are popping off about it right now after today's news where Sonny had the right hamstring strain. So I wanted to do a quick comparison and just kind of show you that maybe the Cardinals didn't do so bad with this deal after all. Sonny Gray, 34 years old. He'll be 35 in November of this year. Zach Wheeler is 33 years old. Zach Wheeler is not some young buck. It's not like he's 27 or something like that. No, 33. It's going to be 34 in May. So not all that far apart from Sonny Gray's age. Although many will say Sonny Gray is old and he's on the way down the hill, and that's their excuse that they think it's a bad signing. While Zach Wheeler, I was reading a story earlier about this where they're like, Zach Wheeler is only 33. Well, how is it Sonny Gray, oh gosh, he's 34, but Zach Wheeler is only 33? Like, that's not that far apart. You make it sound like Gray is 39 pushing 40. You know, they're a little over a year apart from each other. I don't know. How have they done in the last 5 years? Let's take that into consideration. Let's go 5 years, all right? One of them has made 124 starts. Is 39 and 33, 1.147 whip, 3.22 ERA, and an ERA plus of 138. The other has made 132 starts, so 8 more. Is 54 and 33, has a 1.104 ERA, or 1.104 whip, a 3.27 ERA, and an ERA plus of 128. Which one is which? If you guess that the first one is Sonny Gray, you are correct. Second one is Wheeler. So a few more starts, a lot more wins, but the same amount of losses. Let's go into consideration of what teams they were on at the time. Remember, Sonny Gray was with the Reds, then the Twins, where Zach Wheeler, I think in this 5 years, had 1 year with the Mets, has been with the Phillies ever since, something like that. So wins a little bit easier to come by. The whip, pretty close. ERA, pretty close, although Gray's is better. Gray's ERA plus, 10 points better. And then you look at their contracts. Sonny Gray, 3 years, $75 million. Phillies just forked out 3 years and $126 million for Zach Wheeler. Now, they're not the same type of pitcher by any means. Wheeler's a power pitcher, gets a lot more strikeouts. But in his time, he's also given up a lot more contact and stuff. So a lot more hits. But it just kind of shows you the Cardinals, they got a pretty good deal with Sonny Gray, right? Now we just got to keep him healthy. So we're kind of off to a start when it comes to that. But I just don't think you can look at the Sonny Gray deal and be like, oh, I should have signed one of these guys instead. It's a pretty darn good deal for the quality you've been getting over the last half decade. Now, as far as the rest of the game today went, Cardinals offense continues to stink. PU, not good. Got shut out. They haven't scored more than 3 runs in a game since the very first day of spring training games. Remember, they did split squads. Both teams put up a bunch of runs. Haven't scored more than 3 since. That was back on February 24th. I continue to tell people to calm down and stay calm about the offense, but I mean, they still haven't hit a home run yet this spring, which is weird. Like, you would have thought something would have snuck over the wall at some point, considering the quality of hitters that you've got in this lineup. They're the only team who hasn't hit one yet. The Pirates got 18 dingers in the spring. The Cardinals don't have any yet. Tied for 3. Oh, your top 3. Your top 3 in hits so far. As far as the team. As far as team hits goes, Murderer's Row of Alec Burleson, Matt Koperniak, and Jose Fermin. In my roster prediction last week, I didn't have any of them on the roster to start the season if you had a healthy Tommy Edman. Now, if Edman's out, which it appears he's going to be, Burleson was the only one I had making the team. Your RBI leaders so far, Lucan Baker and Koperniak with 3. And then you got a slew of guys with just 2. The team has scored just 30 runs, which is the second lowest in spring training, ahead of only the Marlins. So stay calm, but let's go, dudes. Let's get it together, Cardinals. Time to put some runs on the board. Now, if they get hot over the last week leading into the season, we won't give a crap what's going on right now, right? But we're living in the now, not the what if future. Right now, not good. Pitching wise, though, after Sonny today, they were solid. Jojo Romero gives up the only run. He takes the loss, but shutout innings by Steven Matz, who we mentioned earlier, made his debut. Giovanni Gallegos, since his first go around where he got hit a little bit, been very good. Teen Kentz leads the team in strikeouts with 6 in 4 innings of work. He's been good. The guys are back on the field tomorrow. Miles Michaelis scheduled to start against the Minnesota Twins, Sonny Gray's former team. Keep your fingers crossed for good news on Gray and the MRI on Tuesday. Because if this is significant at all, oh boy, need all the help we can get. All right, thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, please give us a follow on Twitter at @LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Help our channel and love for the Cardinals grow. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason. I'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.